Good afternoon, everybody. One question people ask when they start the process of getting a green card is, when can I finally get citizenship? That's a very reasonable question, and the answer is it depends. It depends on the category that you're using to acquire citizenship. The fastest way is if you get married to a U.S. citizen. You can get your citizenship within 3 years, which is actually quite fast, even compared to other countries. The standard, though, if you're not getting married to a U.S. citizen, the standard period of time that you have to have a green card is 5 years. And it really doesn't matter whether you have a conditional and then a permanent green card, as in the case of an EB-5, or whether you immediately get a permanent green card, such as an EB-1A, EB-1C, what other options might there be, or even an EB-2. So in those cases, it doesn't matter whether you first get a conditional and then a permanent, or just a permanent immediately. You need to have a green card of some sort for at least 5 years. You can start the process about 90 days before the expiration of the 5-year period, so you get a little bit of a running start. And in addition to that, once you file the paperwork, I would say generally it takes about 6 months from the time you file till the time they call you in for an interview. That obviously depends on the location. Generally in California, the wait times are longer. On the East Coast and in the Midwest, I would say they're shorter. But on average, you can count on 6 months. As for the actual exam, what's required, from my perspective, I think it's a relatively easy exam. There's an English language test, there's a civics test, history test. Again, in my understanding, it's not that difficult. I understand for people who are not native English speakers or didn't grow up in America, some of the questions might be a little intimidating. But on top of it, they provide the full list of questions that could be asked. It's publicly available. So in principle, you can study all the questions in advance. You can't really necessarily study for the English exam, but that's another issue. But in terms of the history, civics questions, you can generally get that information online and study all the possible questions. And it's totally up to the discretion of the officer how many questions they ask, whether they feel you've appropriately answered enough that you can then move on to the next part. So overall, I would say it's not a very difficult process. Most people have no problems whatsoever. And as I mentioned, you could get it as quickly as 3 years, or might take up to 5 years. But after that, you'll be a proud owner of a new blue passport and have U.S. citizenship. If you have any other questions about this process or any other aspects of immigrating to the U.S., please feel free to reach out to us to have a personalized consultation to determine the best course of action for you.